I'm Bridget, and this is Bridget Explains, the show where I take my favorite media and explain it to you. I am a librarian with an encyclopedic knowledge of very specific details about my favorite books and movies, and today I'm here to talk to you about The Princess Diaries, the book and the movie. Okay, so The Princess Diaries, the book by Meg Cabot, who is a goddess, who I wrote to when I was 14, and she wrote back to me, it was great, is about a girl named Mia Thermopolis, and she is a high schooler, and she's incredibly awkward and has a fun group of like ragtag friends, and she finds out that she is in fact the daughter of the monarch of a small European country called Genovia, and I think it's like right between Italy and Spain somehow, I don't know. But she basically finds out that her mom and her dad were either married or together while her dad was in college and then broke up, but they had her, and her mom really didn't want her to be involved, so they basically said that Mia was never going to be a princess and that her dad was going to remarry at some point and have more kids. This is where we get into the first difference, because in the movie, Mia's dad is dead. Mia's dad's dead, which, convenient. Is convenient. It is a Disney movie, and there's a lot of dead people in Disney movies, a lot of dead parents. However, it takes away a lot of the charm of the book, which is that Mia has spent her entire life with her dad during the summers in Genovia with her grandmother. They summer there all the time, and she thinks it's just kind of like one of those annoying things you have to do when you're a kid, is like, instead of going to the beach for 3 months, she goes to Genovia, which no one goes to the beach for 3 months. Is that summering? Is that where the term summering comes from? Is going to the beach for 3 months? Mm-hmm. That must be nice. Anyway, so then it's even more of a shock to her in the books that she is a princess, because she spent so much time in this country, and she just thinks that her dad works in some form of government, because his name is one of those crazy 14 name long names. So when you look him up online, the king has a totally different name. But Mia's dad also is recovering, he's in remission from having testicular cancer, so he can't have any more kids, and therefore, ding ding ding, they need to tell Mia that she is in fact the princess and will be queen of Genovia at some point. Yeah, it's kind of nuts.
You're not just Amelia Thermopolis. You are Amelia Mignonette Thermopolis Rinaldi, Princess of Genovia.
Me? A princess? Shut up!
So then, here's the other main factor of the difference between the book and the movie, is the grandmother factor. I love Julie Andrews, and I have loved her since I was a child. However, in the book, the grandmother character is vastly different. She is a drinking, smoking, cursing woman with tattooed eyeliner and a tiny dog that has like alopecia, and she's fabulous but also terrifying, and it's her job to train Mia on how to be a princess, and she is just a fascinating character because she's really hard on Mia all throughout all of the books, and they have a really tenuous relationship, but they eventually come to a mutual respect for each other like throughout the series, and it's just really great to see. Not that I don't love Julie Andrews, but it's not that vibe at all. And the book takes place in New York. In fact, I would say New York is like the other main character of the series. New York in this book is the reason that I, whenever I go to New York, think that I'm a local, because it features so prevalently in the books that I'm like Mia, I'm from New York, I know things. I was at the Plaza Hotel when I found out that I'm a princess. She finds out she's a princess at the Plaza Hotel and hides in the bathroom for an hour. What could be more iconic or relatable to go to a fancy bathroom whenever life gets you down?
Thanks for the ride. Thank you.
Hey.
Oh, Michael Moskowitz ruined me for all other men at the age of like 11 or 12. He is the older brother of Mia's friend Lily, and has had kind of a crush on him for a long time, but he is like, you know, a cool, but also nerdy and smart and very sweet upperclassman, and she is a freshman or a sophomore, I think. And honestly, one of the most refreshing parts about the series is that the romance is endgame, but does not happen in the first book. In fact, like, they're dropping clues all throughout the first 3 books. I mean, spoiler alert if you're watching this, spoiler alert for the whole thing, but they end up getting together in the 3rd book in, like, the sweetest way. I finished this book sitting in this library, upstairs in the children's department, in the one corner up there. I finished it and then had to reread the same 30 pages at least 3 times in a row. Like, it's so good. He's great in the movie, don't get me wrong, but are you telling me, with all seriousness, that in Princess Diaries 2, she says that they're better off as friends? No, that's absolutely not the case. They're meant to be together forever. End of story. In the books, Mia gets a makeover, and so does Mia in the movie. However, the book makes this makeover more of like a mistake. She ends up getting like, she's really tall. The whole book features about how tall she is. She's like 6 feet tall, which, you know, when you're very tall, I think that becomes part of your like insecurities when you're, you know, walking around and you're the tallest person in the room. And she's incredibly tall and pretty thin. And she ends up getting her hair cut like very short and dyed blonde, but she has like my hair, which if you cut it and you don't put layers into it, basically, she describes it as like a yield sign of hair. And so her makeover does not go well for her. And everyone in school makes fun of her for it. Not like in the movie where they just make fun of her because she's pretty now. No, it really doesn't go well. And all throughout the books, her grandmother is like trying to get her to model and like do all these things that she's like really not into, because Mia in the books is very politically active and also has a lot more diverse group of friends, and they cut out all of those friends for the movies. I think you see maybe one of them, but one of the main subplots of the book is Mia's burgeoning friendship with Tina, who is a student at the school who's been ostracized by the rest of their classmates. In the books, one of the main plot points is that when all of Mia's friends like abandon her, she becomes friends with the only other girl in school who also has a bodyguard, and her name is Tina Hakim Baba, and she is the daughter of a Saudi Arabian oil sheik, and she is basically ostracized from the rest of the school because they think that she's weird for reading romance novels at lunch and dressing really conservatively. But Mia finds out that Tina is like a great person and eventually brings her into their group of friends, and she's a main character throughout the whole series. And you don't get anything like that in the movie. You get like a little fight between Mia and Lily, and that's about it. But the plot of the book is about Mia learning that like your friends can turn on you, and she does end up getting back together with them. But it's also about looking at a classmate that she thought was weird for having a bodyguard and no one really talking to her, and then Mia becomes that other girl and walks in this girl's shoes, and they end up bonding over it, and it's really lovely. I'm all about it. I think that the Princess Diaries books would really lend themselves to TV shows more so than books, more so than movies. I think the Princess Diaries books would make better TV shows than movies because they're a diary, they take place over a long period of time, and including more of the diary entries would make it more interesting, and you could base whole episodes around like, you know, weeks at a time of the books. What I would do if I were trying to adapt this for modern times, I would put it in New York. I would make it a TV series, and I would make it for like a younger audience, like a tween, like CW age group. I think a way you could adapt this to make it more modern day would be if you cast a actor in the role of Mia who was not white. I think it would be a really interesting way to talk about diversity and also coming from like a mixed family, a biracial family, if you had part of Mia's story be that her dad was white and her mom was not white, and that also factored into why she wasn't brought into the royal family and now is going to be the face of what is also a predominantly white country. I just think it would be a really interesting way to adapt it to now, and would be a lot more representative of like the stories that our kids are like, not our kids, but the stories that teens these days are reading and are interested in. So yeah, that was the differences between the Princess Diaries book and the movie. Can you tell that I have read this book at least 10 times? Like, at least 10 times.
The Princess Diaries 2.
I'm also just gonna say, Princess Diaries 2, the film, I love Shonda Rhimes. They did us dirty with Princess Diaries 2. Like, I cannot accept it as part of the Princess Diaries canon. You're free to watch it if you would like. Abigail Breslin is in it as like a tiny child, and Chris Pine is in it, but you don't have to watch that one. But definitely read the books and watch the movie.